Okay, I continuously upload my recordings on my YouTube channels. So if you miss anything, you can just use YouTube to make up. All right, Isabel. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about the very last chapter, right? The very last chapter in the textbook sessions. Okay, so this is the last chapter, managing innovation and fostering corporate entrepreneurship. Basically, innovation strategy. Okay, this topic is very simple. Some types of innovations, if you understand them, it's all right. And also some techniques to enhance innovations. That's it. Okay, some types of innovation, okay, some techniques of innovations. That's it. Okay, so today's meeting will be very simple. Okay, so let's talk about innovation strategy. Basically, innovation strategy is the same format, same fundamental ideas of strategic management. Reduce cost, increase product differentiations. Then you have competitive advantage, right? So why do we care about innovations? Because we can reduce cost and increase product differentiations. Okay. Innovation is unique. Why? Because it can reduce cost and increase product differentiation at the same time. Usually, cost, product differentiations move together, okay, in the same direction, but innovation can reduce cost, increase product differentiations, and enhance this gap, enlarge this gap. That means create more values. That's why people are crazy about innovations. Okay? Innovations. Actually, we talked about a lot already. So probably when you read this chapter, you felt like, oh, I know this, something like that. Okay, so let's go. So before going, okay, I just want to make sure everyone is ready to start. So any connection issues, any health issues, no issues. I am ready to go. Please say yes. Thank you, Grace. All right, let's go. Okay, great. All right, so I just want to make schedule, okay, make announcement about schedule. Okay, so today we're gonna cover chapter 12, okay, innovation strategy. Then Thursday we're gonna do exam 3. Then we're done all the textbook part. Then in the next week we are going to do presentation 3. Okay. This presentation will be focused on what you did in the simulations, okay, and how the performance was and what you're going to do. Okay. So we're going to focus on the simulation, and also we're going to do round 1 on the same day. Okay. Okay. So then I already made this announcement, but for safety, I just wanna, say it again. It's actually presentation 4 was scheduled in December 2nd, but I didn't have any chance to talk about harvest strategy. Okay, it's too late, so I just moved this presentation to the November 18th Thursday. Okay, don't confuse me. November 18th Thursday. Okay. All right, let's move. This is the distribution of your Warner keys, and average is a 7.62 out of 8. Okay, it's perfect. And standard deviation is less than 1. I am totally happy with this. Okay. All right, you are doing great until the very end point of the textbook session. So let's take one case, okay, the last quiz. Okay. That's good. All right. So please you go ahead on Canvas. On the quiz, you can find chapter 12 warm quiz right now. I'm gonna give you chapter 12 warm quiz. Yes. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes. Okay. 10 minutes. Right. So what time? So 2:15. All right. So when you're done, please let me know. Just type done. I'm gonna mute my microphone for a while. Okay, great, Marshall. So you're so fast. Jennifer, Grace, Julia, Kyle, Noah, Jesse, Walter, Marshall. Anybody needs more time? Then it's done. Okay. Okay. So you keep doing. You keep doing. Okay. So when you're done, just done. Okay. So let's talk about that. All right. Really, really simple topics. Okay. So innovation itself is not a simple topic, but this textbook, it has a very simple. Okay. All right. Number one, process innovations are often associated with a low-cost leadership strategy. Yes, that's true. Okay. So types of innovations. We're going to talk about some types of innovations. Process innovation and product innovations. Process innovation is a reduce cost. Way innovations in the way to make a product. Okay? So reduce cost. Okay? And product innovations about improving your product. Okay? So number two actually are about the product innovations. Product innovations are commonly associated with a differentiation strategy. Yes. Okay. So process innovations are about cost leadership. Product innovations are about differentiation strategy. Okay. So innovation management is just use that same fundamental strategy. Reduce cost, increase product differentiations. Okay. Number three, disruptive innovations are those that overturn markets by providing an altogether new approach to meeting customer needs. Yes. Right? Disruptive innovations and sustaining innovations. Okay. So disruptive innovations, okay, it's a change the way to compete. All right. Disruptive innovations change the way to compete, okay, in that sector. So disruptive innovations, who like it? Probably new entrants. Sustaining innovations, it keep the way to compete. Okay, so incumbents like it. Okay. Number four, radical innovations. Radical innovation versus what? Incremental innovations, right? Radical innovation often involves open-ended experimentation, which can be very time-consuming. Yes. Okay. Radical innovations versus incremental innovations. So radical innovations, very time-consuming, and incremental innovations, okay, much better. Okay, less time-consuming. Number five, strategic renewal and the pursuit of new venture opportunities are two primary aims of corporate entrepreneurship. Why we care about corporate entrepreneurship? Because it is aimed to have innovations. Okay, so strategic renewal, that means the better way to develop a better product, and pursuit of new venture opportunities to make a better product and make a new company. Okay, so these are the aims of corporate entrepreneurship. Okay, so we talked about CVC too. It's very similar with the CVC, corporate venture capital investments. Sometimes corporate venture capital investments are made in the organization, within the company. Okay, so spinning off, something like that. So strategic renewal and pursuit of new venture opportunities. Number six, business incubators. We know that, right? Business incubators, like Hackberry. Okay, we have it in the Berry, and what Berry Enterprises. Okay, So we have some systems of business incubators. So business incubators are designed to support fledgling entrepreneurial ventures until they can operate as standalone business. Yes, this is exactly what you're doing. Very, very college. Okay. Number 7, corporate ventures that use real option logic. Okay, I like it. We talked about real options. Okay. Corporate ventures that use real option logic in decision making tend to keep total investment low. Yes, in order to minimize the downside risk of project. Yes, that's why we use real option. Okay, low total cost. Okay. How? Minimizing the downside risk of project to reduce a chance to fail the project. Okay, easy, huh? All right. Then, any question, comment about the quiz? Probably not. Okay, so let's move. So I'm a little bit speedy because you are, this is the very last chapter, so you are already familiar with this. Okay. All right, so types of innovation. We talked about that already. Okay. There are some types of innovations and corporate innovation process and real option approach. We already talked about this with my research papers at the beginning of the semester, actually. And entrepreneurial orientation. We are going to talk about this. Okay. All right, where we are here. Innovation. So we talked about the fundamental concepts of strategy management and international strategy and innovation strategy. Then we've done the textbook part. Yeah, some theoretical part. So at this point, I believe that you're conceptually, your understanding level of conceptually understanding the strategy management is pretty high. Okay. Then now we are going to transit your knowledge in your mind into the simulations because I want you to practice, okay, to use your knowledge in the real setting. Okay, real setting. Okay, it's a different thing. Conceptually understand and use your knowledge in the real setting is a different thing. You need to practice it. To transit between these two levels. Okay. All right, let's move. So this is today class activity, your chapter case. Google. Everyone knows Google. And Google has some, history of failures too. Okay. All the companies, it doesn't matter how much they are successful in their main business, but all the business have the history of failures because most innovations are failed in terms of business. Most projects, about 95%, 99% of projects are eventually failed into the commercialization process. Okay, that's why all the companies have the experience of failures. Google has it too. So let's talk about Google's failure at this time. Okay, so I'm gonna create breakout rooms. We have not 5, we have 4. Then I'm gonna give you 10 minutes. And please join with your team and talk about these 2 questions. Then we are gonna briefly talk about these questions as a whole. Okay, so please go ahead, meet with your teammates. Okay, I'm gonna mute my microphone.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. I believe your discussion was going great. Huh? All right. Very simple case. Very simple case. But it has a lot of implications. A lot of implications. Sure. This is a good case. Good case. Okay. So let's talk about Google. Okay. Google tried to get into a new market, radio market, but it was not so great. Okay. So the first question, why didn't the lessons Google learned in the online market apply to the radio market? Anyone, please go ahead. What should you discuss? Please turn on your microphone and tell us the first question. Anyone, please go ahead.
My group kind of talked about how they didn't have like a way to like calculate how the impact of like the ads were having on the customer directly, and so that kind of played into it.
Exactly. Thank you, Jesse. All right, good comment. So, no, same. Different external environment, different internal resources, okay? Different business level strategy. It's a totally different setting. Then Google has no problem, okay? All right. Any other points?
Yeah, kind of going off of what Jesse said, like they didn't have any way to track how they were kind of doing. Like they couldn't calculate clicks, like an online advertisement. And it's like one thing to go into a different market and it not work out, but like they couldn't they didn't have a metric of how it was doing, so they couldn't really they didn't know how to change something. So it wasn't going well, but they didn't really have a metric to track where it was going wrong per se. So it was difficult for them to kind of change strategies.
Exactly, Ben. Ben, thank you. Thank you so much. Good point. They're just doing the same things. Okay. They did not recognize it's a totally different setting, so they needed a different strategy. Okay. But they didn't recognize it. They just do the same thing and total failure. Okay. So no same environment, different environments. Okay. But they just do same strategy in different environments. It doesn't make sense at all. Okay. Any other points? Okay, good discussions. Okay, good discussions. So let's move to the second question. Radio is increasingly moving to satellite and streaming systems. You know this, right? Is this a new opportunity for Google, or should it steer clear of radio altogether? What are you going to do? How do you think? Anyone, please go ahead. Your team discussions. What did you discuss?
I think that Google could kind of go towards like streaming systems, maybe stay away from satellite, but kind of like what Jesse said again, like they didn't really have the like the knowledge or the ability to track if the ads were actually being like listened to. But since Google is more like obviously all about the Internet of Things, if they can somehow track streaming or track the ads of streaming, then that could definitely be a market that they could go into.
It's great. Thank you so much, Noah Schiffer. Okay. So the point is very simple. Core competencies. Okay. Google has internal resources. The core competencies is online things. Okay, like streaming things. So they can utilize their core competencies to get into the streaming systems. Then Noah pointed out that. Okay, so they have internal resources. Then they can adjust their strategy with streaming systems. It's a dynamic capability. External environment is changing, but they aim this moving target with their resources. with their core competencies. This is dynamic capability theory. Okay. And any other points? Any other idea?
Yeah, specifically with the streaming services, it would be very easy for Google to measure the efficiency and the effectiveness of their ads because they would be able to see if people clicked on things or if they skipped ads altogether. They'd also be able to tailor the ads to people. So say they're listening to like one music genre type of station, they'd be able to direct ads to people who listen to that specifically. Like if you listen to Christian music, they could give you ads for Christian products, etc.
All right, good point. Great point, Isabella. Okay, good point. They have internal resources to get into this business streaming systems easily. Okay, so they just try to it. Okay, how about the satellite business? Satellite systems. Probably satellite systems. Google has some risk, high chance of failures. Then, okay, if Google wants to move to satellite systems, they can use the real option approach. Okay, we talked about real option approach. Okay, so it would be my suggestion if they went into a new market, something like a radio market, satellite market. Why they didn't use a real option approach? Before they make a big investment in that market, they just can make a small toy investment, something like a partnership with any the existing companies in that market. Okay? Then if they are sure, okay, we can work in this market, they can make a big investment. This is a real option approach, right? So they can reduce total cost, total risk, okay, to get into a new market. Okay? By what? Minimizing, the chance of failure. Okay? So this is a real option approach. Okay? So basically, my suggestion would be at the beginning of this investment, like a radio market investment. If Google asked me about the strategy to get into the radio market, I would talk about some real option approaches. They could reduce a lot of cost. Okay. All right. Any other point? So we get some consensus. Google can go streaming systems. Okay. All right, because their internal resources are great. Okay, that makes sense. Any other comment, ideas, questions about the chapter case? So in this chapter case, okay, very simple case, okay, very simple event, but we talked about core competencies about Google, right? Google's internet business and dynamic capabilities. Okay, we talked about dynamic capabilities in the earlier sections, and also we talked about real option approaches. Okay, so this simple case provides a lot of implications about several topics we talked about in the previous chapters. Okay, so no question, no comment. Can I move? Say yes, please. All right, thank you, Grace, Julia, Ben. Okay. All right, great. Let's move. So innovation. We are talking about innovation. Innovation allows for transformation of organizational process. Okay, so reduce cost and creation of new commercially viable products or service. Okay, increase product differentiations. Okay, all right. So that's why we care about that. Okay, Why strategists? Why a strategist care about innovation? Because it can reduce cost, it can increase product differentiation. It can do both at the same time. Okay. Innovations, product innovation, process innovation. We talked about that, right? Product innovation, increase product differentiation, differentiation strategy. Process innovation, reduce cost. Okay, cost leadership strategy. And radical innovation, incremental innovation. Radical innovations, a major departure from existing practice. Highly disruptive. Incremental is not. Okay? So radical innovations, think about that. Who likes this? Probably startups, new entrants, a company that finds a niche market. They like radical innovation because radical innovation changes existing practice. The way to fight, they change it. Radical innovation redefine the rule to compete. So new ventures like it. Existing companies establish it. Existing companies, incumbents like incremental innovations. They don't want to change the rule in the sector because they already have privileges. Sustaining innovations and disruptive innovation. Very similar. But sustaining innovations is sustain the way to compete, and disruptive innovations does totally change it. All right, and so there are many ideas about innovations. Then, which one we should choose? These are seeds versus weeds. Which project should we pursue? And seeds are likely to be a fruit. Weeds should be cast aside. Okay. Then experience versus initiative. Which one? Okay. It is very complicated question. Okay. Complicated question. All right. But we have some statistics. 95% of projects will be failed. Okay. So 95% of weeds, 5% of seeds. Okay. So you should know these statistics. Okay? Then you have some reality in your mind, in your ideas to select the projects. Okay, internal versus external staffing. This is important to determine inertia. Internal inertia. If you have external staffing, so outside people do it, outside technology do it, then internal people don't like it. They resist this. Okay, so you need to balance. You need to think about this internal inertia in advance. Okay, building capabilities versus collaborating. Okay, you can just read this. Then innovation dilemmas. Final choice: incremental versus preemptive launch. An incremental launch is less risky, requires fewer resources, serves as a market test. And large-scale launch requires more resources. Okay? But large-scale launch can effectively preempt a competitive resources. Okay? So there is no rule of thumb to decide this. Okay? Sometimes this way, sometimes that way. You have to be flexible to determine this. Okay? And then real optional approaches. You need to think about that too. Okay? To determine between this. All right, cultivating innovation skills, discovery skills, creative intelligences. You just read this, then you can understand that. Okay? Then there are some techniques to support innovations, to have effective innovation process. Okay. Strategic envelope, focus on common technology or focus on market theme. Usually, you need to focus on this market theme. Many people recommend it. Okay. Technology-based or market-based, I strongly recommend market-based. Your customers, your innovation should be stay with your customers because your customers will buy it. Technology-based, engineering-based innovations, sometimes it looks beautiful, but it doesn't work with your customers. Then what for? Your customers don't like it. It's not product differentiation. Okay. In your simulations, you are already familiar with your simulations. So you need to find okay, some information about your customers. Actually, your simulation provides what your customers like, what your customers want. Okay. So you need to find that information, and then you should match up that information with your strategy, your product development strategy. So your machine, where your machine should be located, it depends on your customers. Okay, please find that information in the simulations. Okay. Managing the pace of innovation, incremental, radical. Okay, time pacing allows for control of the innovation process. Okay. All right. And stepping to capture value from innovation, rent. Okay. Effective human resource management practice for innovation projects include use experienced players from diverse areas, require employees to serve in the new venture group as a part of career development, something like this. New venture experience. Okay. Then collaborating with innovation partners. Okay. So we talked about some collaboration strategies, something like license, straight alliances, CBC, and something else, joint ventures, something like that. Okay. So you can think about that. You do not need to do everything by yourself. Okay. Actually, no company can do like that. Okay. All right. So collaboration is very important part of innovation strategy. And the value of unsuccessful innovation, 95% of unsuccessful innovation, it still has the value. You can learn from it. All right, corporate entrepreneurship. Why do we care about corporate entrepreneurship? Because new ventures, entrepreneurs create innovations. Okay, we talked about this, right? Strategic renewal and pursuit of new venture opportunities. Yeah. Right. And focused approaches to corporate entrepreneurs. Okay. Creates an autonomous corporate venturing work group separate from the rest of firms. Why from the rest of the firm? Why? Because entrepreneurs, innovations have little different mechanisms from the existing mechanisms in the big corporations. Okay, so some companies actually do some things separately. Okay? So these are new venture groups and some business incubators. Okay, you are already familiar with this because at Berry College, okay, they are doing this. Okay? Hackberry and any other, very enterprises. I know some other program to foster the business setup. I don't remember that. Anyway, Berry College has several mechanisms to support innovations, new businesses. New venture groups are semi-autonomous units with an informal structure, okay? Innovative and experienced. Business incubators, just incubators, then hatch new business. They support your business until you become a stand-alone business unit. Okay. And is corporate entrepreneurship worth it? Yes. Strategic reasons: strengthening competitive position, entering into new markets, expanding capabilities by learning and acquiring new knowledge, and building and extending the corporate base of resource experience. Why corporate ventures do this? Not existing teams, because the existing teams, they have their own mechanisms. Okay? So new venture teams actually are suitable to pursue more innovations. That's why there are some reasons. That's why we see corporate entrepreneurship these days a lot. Okay? All right, then exit champions help avoid costly defeats by questioning the viability of venture projects. Okay, so measuring success, exit champions, you can ask. Okay, and this is the success, measuring success, and also real option analysis. Okay, real option analysis. So multiple stage investment to delay further investment in order to learn more, to have more information. Okay, and requires a series of go or no-go decisions. We are familiar with this. And entrepreneurial orientation, what is that? I don't know which one first, but entrepreneurial orientation involves strategy making practice used to identify launch a new venture, a unique frame of mind, a perspective toward entrepreneurship, reflected in a firm's ongoing process and corporate culture, something like that. Okay? So entrepreneurial orientation, which one comes first? I am not sure. Orientation first and entrepreneur first. Okay? I mean, entrepreneurial task first or entrepreneurial orientation first. Okay? All right, entrepreneurial orientation: autonomy, innovativeness, proactiveness, competitive aggressiveness, risk taking. Okay, you can just read this, then you will understand. Oh, yes, it makes sense. All right, that's it. This is pretty much about innovation and entrepreneurial strategy. Okay, so we're done. You did a great job. You did a great discussion today. Okay? So we've done all the chapters. Then we are gonna do okay, exam 3. Okay, next time, Thursday. Then we'll focus on the simulation in the next week. Okay. All right. Any question, comment? Any question, comment? Any concern so far? All right, great. Then if you don't have any question, comments, I'm gonna see you on Thursday. All right, Thursday, I'm gonna see you. You did a great job today. Okay, I love your discussions. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Grace. Julia, thank you so much. Isabella, thank you. I will see you on Thursday. Okay. All right, Noah, thank you. All right, great.